Welcome back, Knicks fans. Just wanted to recap today's game. The Knicks played the Toronto Raptors today, and it wasn't a very great. It wasn't a very good game. The Knicks lost this game. The Raptors basically put this game away uh, by basically in the fourth quarter. Early in the fourth quarter, they had double-digit lead in the fourth quarter and never really looked back after that. The Knicks couldn't really do anything with them. The Knicks defense didn't show up at all today. And the offense started out nicely in the first and maybe first half of the second quarter, and then everything just turned sour from there. Basically, the story of the game was um, offense was clicking well, defense was tolerable early on, but the offense was going really well, and it was essentially we started off. The offense was running through R.J. Barrett, Evan Fournier, and Kemba Walker. And basically, Julius Randle was able to ease into the game, right? So he got some easy open shots from the guys. So once he got going, he started running basically the offense through him, bringing the ball up, and he was able to make some plays for his teammates. But then, however, he just started forcing the action. When the defense adjusted, he really started forcing the action, started turning the ball over, and just dribbling into double teams. Just a lot of craziness, lazy passes. There was even times in the game where he would turn over the ball and just wouldn't even hustle back to defend the fast break, and so it was really discouraging. And I think their team really kind of lost their passion and enthusiasm late in that second quarter. In my opinion, I think it was because of Julius Randle's play. He was really trying to play hero ball, and then also he just wasn't really. He didn't have a good defensive posture, and so. And when I say hero ball, it wasn't like he was trying to take every shot himself. Julius Randle is just trying to run the whole offense through. He wants to run the offense through him. He wants to be that guy, and I get it. However, it's he just hasn't been making great decisions. He just needs to take it easy and just take whatever the defense gives him. If the defense adjusts, you need to adjust. You don't just dribble into a double team or into a bunch of traffic and just lose the ball. So it's just it was unfortunate. It was pretty frustrating to look at, and so yeah, the story of the game was we basically the offense is stagnated after Julius Randle started really trying to run the take over the offense and running through him, and then the defensive effort wasn't there. And it wasn't just Julius Randle with the defensive effort, but I felt like his lack of effort sort of set the tone. There was times even in the fourth quarter he could have had chance at loose balls, and he didn't have the posture. He was basically walking upright, and the loose ball sort of caught him off guard, and so he wasn't able to react quick enough to get the either get the steal or the loose ball. And so it was just a very poor defensive effort by the whole team, and it was led by Julius Randle. Fortunately, he is the leader of this team, and so he has to do a lot better, show better effort, especially in New York. You know this city, they like defensive teams, and if you're going to show that kind of effort on the defensive end, then it's not going to really go well for you. So I just want to take a quick look at the box score to see uh, who had the biggest impact on the games, and also to just kind of see the team's performance as a whole. So let's start with the team's whole performance. So we basically shot 35 of 76, 46% from the field, 16 of 38 from three for 42%, 18 of 24 from the free throw line. We grabbed only 41 rebounds, and we scored 104 points. We were pretty efficient today. We weren't, like I said, the only issue with the offense was the turnover. So that was a big part of the issue that we had. So how many turnovers do we have? It looks like is that 16? Yes, we have 16 turnovers. Now let's take a look at the Raptors. The Raptors, this is a poorly rated offensive team. They basically score. The offensive rating is only like 105, but they're an excellent defense team, as we can see. And also, they're going to play hard and play physical. They're going to play that way because they're not extremely talented. In my opinion, I don't think they're an overly talented and overly powerful offense. And it shows their offensive rating is only 105, and they were missing two of their top guns in Siakam and also that the rookie that they drafted. I'm trying to remember the kid's name. Sorry, like the kid's name escapes me right now, but I'll remember it. But anyway, so without their two top guns, they were able to basically put up 113 points on the Knicks. They went 43 of 99, only shot 43%. So the Knicks were more efficient than they were by 3 percentage points. We were more efficient than them from the 3 point line. We made more 3 pointers, and also we shot it at a more efficient pace. We were more efficient. They shot 33%. We shot 42%, or almost 40. Let me see, what was it? We shot 42.1%. So uh, we were 9 percentage points more efficient than they were. Um, second chance points off of offensive rebounds. They had 13 offensive rebounds, and so there was a total of 48 rebounds overall. So we were out rebounded by them, and they killed us on our offensive glass. It was because of the rotation. That's not just the rotation issues. I don't think it's not just Julius Randle. It's essentially us getting break, not being able to stop these guys from getting to the basket or breaking down our defense. And so a lot of times it just causes scrambles and it causes like crazy rotation. There was a few times I saw Mitch Robinson running out to the 3 point line. You see sometimes Julius Randle running through the 3 point line, but not as often as he should have actually. And so, but that left basically the basket open, and so we were susceptible to offensive rebounds, and so that's why we struggled from there. They only had 8 turnovers. We had 16 turnovers, and so it was unfortunate, and they scored 113 points on us. And so it's crazy. We were a better look. It's hard to say that we're a better team because we lost, but if you look at this, the Knicks were a more efficient team than the Raptors were, and yet the Knicks still managed to find a way to lose this ball game. And like I said, it was the lack of defense, lack of rebounding, and also turnovers. And so let's look at the individual performance by the Knicks players. R.J. Barrett, he's been really special. This the last 2 games, I've been very critical of RJ in the past about making his layups, and I've always said that's the only thing he was missing. As soon as he starts making those layups, I mean, then he's just gonna be a more efficient scorer, and then you're gonna start hearing talks about RJ Barrett possibly making the All Star team. And honestly, even things like most improved player, to be making most improved player. And so RJ Barrett, the way he's playing, if he can continue this kind of efficiency, 9 of 13, 5 of 8 from three, and 4 of 6 from the free throw line. Although he still needs to work on the free throws. But the thing about the free throws is not only making layups and shooting high field goal percentage, but when you drive to the basket a lot, obviously you're going to get foul calls, and so that's going to help your field goal percentage, right? Because obviously those shots, some of them that you miss, it doesn't get counted against you, and then also you get to go to the free throw line and add to your score. I can't remember exactly how the offensive rating is calculated, but it's something like the total amount of points that you have divided by, I think it's like something like total amount of points divided by the your attempts, maybe. It's something weird like that. So basically, the number of is basically a ratio of like your number of attempts to the total number of points that you have, and so the fact that it's taken him less attempts to score 27 points. Same thing with the last game. He scored what? Maybe I think it was 30 points. He scored the last. I'm sorry, 35 points, and I think it was on 15 attempts. So he's becoming an extremely efficient basketball player, and that's going to really impact his offensive rating and also his true shooting percentage. The last 2 games, the last game it was like over 70%, and this game it was probably over 70% as well. And so this is where you start getting all those talks about like this is where he starts to get respect. He's going to start showing up on lists. He's going to, people are going to be talking about him as most improved player, all star. As crazy as it sounds, in a couple of seasons, if the Knicks are winning and he's putting up these kind of numbers, then you're going to be hearing crazy stuff like, as RJ Barrett, an MVP candidate. And so, but like I said, it all starts with him basically making sure he stays aggressive driving to the basket, but also making those layups. So Julius Randle, he's our top gun, but he wasn't a top gun tonight. He was 7 to 14. When you look at the box score, you would think Julius Randle was not the issue with this game, but this is one of those things. This is one of those situations where numbers can lie to you. So numbers doesn't always tell you the whole story all the time. Sometimes you just have to watch the ball game and to see exactly what happened. So if you look at this game, you would think Randle had a very solid game. But however, Julius Randle, his defense was just off. He shot 50%, 4-7 from three for 57%. But basically, his stats were just it felt like it was just almost self-serving, and it didn't help the team at all because he turned over the ball quite a bit. He had three turnovers. Um, he just was trying to force the offense through him quite a bit as well. And so it just didn't go very well for Julius tonight. And it started off great. The first quarter was great, and half of the second quarter was great. And then when the Raptors defense adjusted and they were catching up to what he was doing, he just basically continued to try to do the same thing he was doing before. And of course, he let the turnovers. It was disastrous. And the offense also, to make it worse, the offense stagnated, right? And so we never went back to what we were doing, where essentially we'll run the offense through either RJ, Kemba, or Evan, and then swing the ball around so we get an open shot either by Julius or RJ or someone else. So if we would have just ran the offense the way we were supposed to run it, Julius probably could have had a more efficient game, and he probably would have been able to score more than 22 points. But that's not what we had, and that's not the kind of game he had. Mitchell Robinson was 2 of 4. He played. I was really good to see. I was really happy to see Mitchell Robinson's effort on the defensive end. He was the only one on this team that actually really hustled on defense and did a good job on the defensive end. He's always running everywhere, trying to cover up for all of the team's mistakes, and not just in the paint, even sometimes at the 3-point line. And so I felt like he played an excellent game. The one thing I will say about Mitchell Robinson, I know it's really rough because the weight he's putting on, I don't think it's good because it makes him stronger and it's from lifting weights. But however, because he hasn't been able to run, so it wasn't like he was putting on weight while he was running or working on his legs. He wasn't able to work on his legs, and so you can see nobody's really talking about it. But Mitch doesn't have the same lift he used to have. I mean, he barely has the same. He's nowhere near the lift he used to have a couple of years ago. And so hopefully it's just something that gets better as the season goes along, or maybe he's able to strengthen up his legs next off season. So maybe he can get back to. Maybe he can never get back to the old Mitch where he was jumping out of the gym. But I mean, hopefully it can be a little better because he struggled finishing at the basket. He got bailed out a couple of times when they called with some foul calls. So he actually no, it was only once he got bailed out with a foul call, but he struggled finishing at the rim essentially. And so Evan Fournier on the offense, it was a fairly solid game. The problem with Evan on the offensive end, as we noticed, I said the last game as well, he struggles when you play him physical. And so once you body him up and start playing him physical, he struggles handling the ball, and it kind of really throws him off his rhythm. And then the other thing too, his defense, of course, wasn't really there. And so I really think that's the reason he ended up getting benched. It was because of his defense. If you guys noticed, Thibodeau went with quickly to close out the game, and that was because he's, Thibodeau knows maybe Fournier would have given him better offense than quickly, but it's not going to do any good if Fournier is not guarding anyone. Especially there was one situation I think he lost the ball and he didn't hustle back. He barely hustled back to defend, basically to defend the fast break. Julius did the same thing. Julius did it first, and I think Fournier did it as well. And so I think after that, Tiz was essentially fed up, and so he didn't finish the rest of the game. Kemba Walker, I think, played a solid game. I mean, Kemba Walker, he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's basically hitting 3-point shots, and he's helping spread the floor and keep the defense a little bit off balance, or keep them as much off balance as possible. And I think he's actually doing that. Obviously he struggles on the defensive end. We all knew the defense was going to be a struggle, and so they just need to figure out what to do about it. I guess the biggest problem with the Knicks is like you can't just, honestly. So before, so basically, you can't have only one person being playing defense, which was Mitchell Robinson. I know everybody was talking about RJ Barrett possibly being like a lockdown defender. Look, I don't know if I don't know if he's ever going to get there. However, he falls asleep a lot on the defensive end, and a lot of times he can be a little lackadaisical on the defensive end. And so, it's he did not have a great defensive effort. RJ did not have a great defensive effort. He got torched by that by the other kid. What's the kid's name? He got torched by Gary Trent Jr. Gary Trent Jr. did go for 10 of 22. Wasn't extremely efficient. 4 of 11 from three. However, it's just I just felt like he could have done a little better job against Gary Trent Jr. He did get beat backdoor, not really backdoor, but it was on an inbounds play. His man basically dove right down the middle, caught the ball, and dunked it over him. And it's just like, how is this happening? But he didn't play terrible defense, but he wasn't great. But the whole point I'm just trying to make, the whole team defense for the starting lineup was just terrible, and so it can become a problem, basically a domino effect because um, if Kemba Walker is like the biggest source of penetration, right? And then you have Evan Fournier who's like screwing up, the rotation or doesn't do a good enough job helping. And then you also have RJ Barrett who basically maybe like is not gonna really do a great job helping either. And then Julius Randle, it seems like he just gets frustrated and like it's sort of like he's not raising his hand, but you can tell he's frustrated when the defense rotation is off, and so then he doesn't put the effort in to make sure he can help cover up for his teammates. And so you see a lot of that happening, and so that's why it was just the defense was just really bad tonight. And but with Kemba Walker, we know the defense is going to be an issue, and I think he's sort of making an effort and trying the best he can. But I think it's where we need to pick up is like obviously he needs to do his the best to stay in front of his man, but at the same time, all these other guys need to pick up the slack. Evan, Julius, RJ, Mitch. Mitch was picking up the slack for everybody. And as a matter of fact, I think the last game that we played, I think he was a little frustrated. I can tell. I felt like Mitch Robinson was a little frustrated with that New Orleans Pelicans game a little bit, where it was just he kept obviously constantly rotating to help, but then nobody was basically rotating to deny the ball from his man, and so his man was essentially torching us, was killing us, and it's because of basically rotations, him having to rotate to help teammates, and there go his man dunking the ball because nobody was able to pick him up. So it's our defense is really breaking down, and it's been a struggle. Derrick Rose, 2 games in a row, he wasn't in the rhythm. He was a little off. I thought his defense was pretty okay. It was pretty solid. Honestly, in my opinion, sometimes I I think it might be better off. Although he's been off. His offense have been a little off. Sometimes I wonder if it might be better if if Tibbs can try closing with Derrick Rose once in a while, just to see how it goes. Because I have a feeling Rose may basically, although he's out of the rhythm, he always seems to find a way. If you really need a bucket or you need to play, I think he's going to find a way to engineer to help you, make a play either for a teammate or score the basket himself. Taj was hurt today, sprained ankle, so he only played 10 minutes. Alec Burks was okay, but defense. This is the first game where he kind of struggled on the defensive end. These guys were just a little too long for him, and so I think that's what the issue was with Alec Burks. He was 2 of 3, 1 of 1 from three. Emmanuel quickly 1 of 7. He's still struggling right now. I think it's his confidence is for some reason he's lost his confidence, and so hopefully he gets it back soon. But defense, I really like the defense he's been playing. That's the one thing I'm very impressed by with quickly. His defense has been extremely solid, and as you guys noticed, like I said before, he ended up closing out the game for the Knicks, and so Obi Toppin played about 13 minutes, 2 of 4 from the field, 0 1 from three, 6 points. He was okay. Wasn't too terrible. He did a decent job. I still feel like Kobe Toppin still has a ton of work on. But in terms of this game, I thought he did a decent job, and actually he did a little better job rebounding during this game. So RJ had a phenomenal game, and he had the 3-point shot going. If you see on this one, RJ, Julius Randle caught saw him in the corner and gave him the ball. So that's when actually Julius was doing a decent job on running the offense through him. And this one, he found RJ Barrett on the wing, and RJ smacked down a three on this one. I mean, he had everything going. If you guys notice here, even like look down below, he was also finishing at the basket. If you see here, he drove to the lane, just used strength and muscled the ball right over OB and even Gary Trent Jr. And so he just had the whole thing going. And this one here, Mitch got the ball, passed the ball out to Obi, and I'm sorry, to RJ, and RJ just came down the three. I mean, his shooting has been excellent. I mean, he's really developing into a really good ball player. And a lot of it is because he's been able to finish at the paint and has really opened everything up for him. And look at this here, pick and roll, RJ again. He just takes it right to the cup over everyone. That there should have been an and one, but he did get the call there. This one here quickly was able to drive baseline, find RJ cutting down the middle, and he finished strong. So he's been playing a lot, like playing really well. RJ from the corner hits another three. This was with the game on the line when things got tight. And look at this one here. The game is online. Knicks are trying to win. Every shot that this kid took down the stretch in the fourth quarter, he cans it. So he's basically he's a finisher. This kid is going to be a finisher. The fact that he's not afraid to take the shots, especially with the game on the line, and the fact that he hits it too. So it's been amazing. It's been a real treat to watch him develop. To go from not making layups and criticizing him for not making layups to now all of a sudden he's like, he's, it's it's he's shooting now. He's shooting things. I think today he was 9 of 13. Yesterday he was like 9 of 15. I think yesterday when he scored the 35 points. I'm sorry, maybe not nine. I'm not sure what he shot. I'm not sure what his percentage was yesterday, but I do know not yesterday, but the previous game, his true shooting percentage was over 70%. This game, his true shooting was 86%. I mean, this is like he's in a torrid, crazy pace right now, and so, and this is the reason why honestly, pretty soon that's what I was saying before. You're gonna start hearing people talk about RJ Barrett. It's like possible All Star and things like that because now because he's become a lot more efficient, and the fact that his defense is getting better. Although 126.6 is not going to cut it, in the past 2 games his defensive rating has been atrocious, and so it's just something the whole team needs to work on. Uh, and so if you guys notice also in terms of the defense, when I was talking about defense before, look at our starters. Just the defensive rating for the starters are just terrible. It's just been really bad. Nobody was under 120. Even Mitchell Robinson. I mean, honestly, I think they're ruining Mitchell Robinson's all his defensive stats and his ratings, and it's all because it's just the guys in the wing are not doing their job. The rotations have been bad, and it's just been all terrible all around. And so the whole team has suffered. The second team, like I've said, they've been solid with their defense, and so they've always done a decent job. And they've continued that. Alec Burks today, although the defensive rating is 100, he did struggle a little bit against some of the players. There was like a couple of times, they didn't score a ton on him, but because he only played about 16 minutes. However, you could see he had issues like staying with the guys with their length. They were just a little too big for him. So that was pretty much it. I felt like the story of the game was our defense. It wasn't there, and hopefully it gets better for the next game. Not sure what the Knicks are going to do about it, but the one thing, like I said, Emmanuel quickly IQ ended up closing this game out, and it's not because his offense was there. It was because IQ plays defense, and he's actually become a really good defender, in my opinion. The effort is there, and he's actually effective, and he also knows the rotations. So I would not be surprised. IQ is a little undersized to be trying to play two guard, especially like with the game going down the stretch. Especially on top of that, with his offense not being there, with his offense struggling. So what I imagine is, I have a feeling if that kid Grimes is ready, I think the coach is probably going to test him. They're going to give him spot minutes here and there to see how he does. And if he does everything he's going to do in those spot minutes, I would not be surprised if they slowly start to introduce Quentin Grimes into this lineup because I've always said Thibodeau is, yes, sometimes he plays favorite sometimes, but at some point he's just, especially when it start costing him games, he's gonna start making changes, and that may mean like um, Evan Fournier gets less minutes. So he really needs to work on his defensive rotations and also just overall defense in general. He's trying, but he needs to try a little harder. And so, but let me know what you guys think. Please like, subscribe, comment below. I'll be more than happy to respond to your comments. Have a good night.